So, Jason, what are we talking about today?
Today, Tim, we are talking about a topic that will probably get me into trouble simply because it's not a fully formed idea. And our audience are all pedantic perfectionists. And that's great.
Who yell at us on LinkedIn.
Yell away. I like to perform the role of the non-pedantic guy who just explains, the shortest vector problem completely incorrectly, but in an intuitive way that people actually learned something.
Okay.
So I'm going to throw an idea out there that's completely, it's an unbaked loaf of not baked bread.
Okay.
Not done yet. How do you do trust in a swarm going 50 miles an hour? And here's what I'm referring to.
You must be referring to fish or birds.
I'm talking about drones.
Okay.
What happens when you are doing mutual TLS communications where there's probably a leader drone or at least some gateway talking to the drones, and the communication from that may drop. Therefore, you need to reestablish who is the leader while things are moving at 50 miles an hour.
Okay.
Other communications may drop, reform, certificates need to be re-rotated in the sky at speed.
Right.
What we're talking about, and this
Drones
is
need to be able to rejoin.
This is it. So leadership tokens need to be handed off. Okay, we're talking. I used a lot of provocative terms today. I'd like to call it cryptographic choreography.
Okay.
And really, what this is this autonomous cooperation. Basically, cryptography can make autonomy cooperative.
Okay. Explain.
So think about a drone swarm where, a leader or multiple sets of leaders are declared because they have the best communication capability amongst themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And because this is the major problem amongst these devices is in order to coordinate, they need to be able to communicate amongst each other. Now, why in the world would you need mutual TLS between these drones? Well, I think with current warfare tactics that we're seeing in the world, not that I'm not going to bring that up as a topic, but making sure that your communication drone to drone or especially leader drones is not messed with.
Right.
Is incredibly important.
That'd be an obvious attack vector, sure.
Okay. What happens if agricultural drones that are either government monitoring or God knows what, right? It could be hydro drones that are looking at faults along a long way. These kinds of utilities also have drone swarms and drone operations that are you don't want that to be messed with.
Right.
Okay. So I think, Tim, there's a whole category of security in drone systems that we haven't even begun to talk about yet. And so what happens when you have cooperative devices that need to have mutual TLS, encrypted communication between each other, where the leader in the handoff and the communication is on and off randomly. And it almost becomes like a form of cryptographic choreography in a sense. And I think that Bruno Couillard said it best, the future is so rich for people who want to come into this field and start to think about complexities of secrets within new complex systems that have never existed before. I think drones are one of the ones that are not past the horizon. Those are now right in front of us. That's a problem set that needs to happen. And we're seeing the fact that, there are some ways that people have been using to try to protect and also not, anti-protect, essentially disrupt these kinds of systems. And I think that thinking is in its infancy. Now, somebody in the U.S. military might say otherwise and go, You should see the secret stuff we got. Great. What about for the rest of us
Yeah.
who need to think through this extremely carefully? And I just don't think that it requires a new kind of trust model, Tim. This is my point.
Sure. Okay.
Right?
All right.
So when the model hierarchy is clear, PKI trust model, you and I can dish that out of the top of our heads. What happens when it's not clear?
Yeah. And as you described, it's dynamic, right? Like even when you do have a hierarchy, circumstances will of necessity force that hierarchy to change.
Yeah. That is the point.
And it has to do it automatically. It's do it by itself. It's not a human intervention thing. It has to sort itself out.
That's it. It has to sort itself out in real time.
Right.
And that's the challenge that it's funny how it's a new problem set for PKI, isn't it?
Yeah. I have a friend who's a dog breeder and also runs a dog boarding business. And in a big weekend, they might have 30 dogs. And one time he said to me, he goes, you know what's interesting about having 30 dogs? And I said, what? He goes, they organize themselves.
It's very true. It's very true.
Right? And it reminds me of this.
You know who knows that best are dog mushers.
Yeah.
Like the Iditarod race, right? People who do that kind of stuff and they put a bunch of dogs in front of a sleigh. You might think it's just chaos, a bunch of dogs.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Those dogs know exactly who each other is.
Right.
Who's the leader?
The boss. Yeah. And they fall in line. Yep. Yeah.
One of the most fascinating things that you'll ever see if you really pay attention in part of the world where I live on the migration path of millions of Canada geese. And there's a constant reorganization going on. There is a choreography going on in the sky that is just utterly natural, and it's amazing. And they know who the leader is at any given moment.
And so one has to wonder, I did mention birds and fish at the top of this. One has to wonder if it would be worth studying those models to figure out how to solve the problem you're talking about. Because clearly there is some mechanism there that works really well.
There is
a school of fish or a flock of birds or, migrating geese.
I think leadership choice and fatigue and loss are all things that we have to watch nature because nature's figured this out. Mm-hmm. I think that the PKI model that we're imprinting on top of this is to support it.
Right.
Is the point.
Yeah.
We shouldn't, the tail can't be wagging the dog here. Mm-hmm. And I think that PKI is the tail that needs to support a natural system. And I think you're onto it. There's an underlying natural system of which PKI needs to match. When have we ever done that before? I don't think we have.
I think you're right.
So that is new territory for us. I actually think, we recorded a podcast a little earlier about small language models and nano-sized models, where, in fact, the podcast was about signing nano-sized models. And I think that drone swarms where there's a micro-sized, nano-sized LLM to help to support this kind of, real-time understanding to simulate what probably is going on in the brains of those Canada geese or the Iditarod racing dogs, right? You're trying to simulate the basics of what's going on there. So maybe the confluence is we understand what nature does, we program a small language model around it, and then we imprint a new kind of flexible, almost danceable PKI on top of that. And so this is a short podcast, Tim, but it really is to throw out the idea of, wow, is there ever a richness of trust models in PKI that I think PKI still probably is the right technology, just needs to be thought about diagonally, very differently than in the static systems that it has been used for.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it.
All right. Thanks, Jay.
Tim.